What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into, July is upon us. Dog days of summer. I think that would qualify for some of my friends up there in the North Country. Fishing is probably getting pretty solid. Down here south, it is hot. So I thought, hey, how can I get into some of the baits that I think are going to be the best for this month and how I sort of target some of the bass. We're going to dive into that right now.
Let's go.
We're here in Mexico. We are in the Dominican Republic. So I'm going to tell you a couple of different tips that have helped me over the years.
Wow! Unbelievable! Jacob Wheeler makes history!
Okay, there's a lot of different things that I could dive into as far as different baits and different techniques, but I'm only going to pick, I think there's 5 that I have picked out. And the thing is, so I want to talk to both groups of people, and there's a lot of people that are all over the country, different scenarios, different fisheries, highland reservoirs, clear water, dirty water. No matter where you're at, I'm trying to pick baits that I feel like will probably work for you. So down south, I mean, water temperatures are, man, it's hot. I mean, if you're in Texas, 80s, 90 degrees, oxygen levels, the bass are still offshore, some of them. Some of them are starting to slide back shallow. And what happens is in July, at least from what I've seen, especially in the southern parts, southern states, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, the fish will go out offshore in the months of really June, late May, June, and the beginning of July. And then as this starts to become the transition month, the fish will start to transition later in the month to starting to slide back up shallow. There's bluegill spawns that are still happening. Those fish are up there on bluegill. The shallow water fish have not been hit all year, or some of those fish are more susceptible to being caught, and so that's why it's starting to transition. So, with that being said, beginning of the month, I'm going to pick the first bait you guys might know. Deep diving crankbait. Okay, deep diving crankbait. This is a DT16. This is citrus. I'll change my color according to the forage that the fish are eating. So if you're in the northern country, perch is a great color. But really, basically, the whole DT series line, the 10, the 14, the 16, the 20. If I had one that I was going to recommend for any of you, a 16 catches them day in and day out. And you really can fish it from about 12 feet to really, if you throw it on 10-pound test, 18 feet of water. So if you're out there in the boat and you're trying to find those deep schools of bass, another thing that works really well is throwing this bait on brush piles. Yes, brush piles, the fish will start to break up from the bigger schools on some of these bodies of water, and then they'll get on the man-made brush or some of its natural brush, and cranking a crankbait over those fish will get them fish to react, and that can really help you land quite a few big fish. So crankbait is definitely on my list. DT16, change your colors according to what you're dealing with, but that is number 1. Okay, so number two, spinning rod, here we go. Okay, I got a drop shot, okay? Drop shot, it's a drop shot slim shake worm, Guggen Bait slim shake worm. I have him right, bam, right here, okay? This guy right here, okay, this is the thing. I have 3 different worms, okay? They're all Guggen Baits. I have the drag and drop. I have a little bit bigger drag and drop, 5.5, and then I have the slim shake. These are all different profiles, and that's the key, okay? So if I'm fishing for smallmouth, if I'm fishing for spotted bass and they're keying on smaller forage, or this is the thing, okay? Smallmouth in general, it doesn't seem like the smaller you go, the smaller the fish is. Largemouth tends to be, you need to bump up the size of your bait to get a quality bite. They don't tend to spend as much energy on smaller baits, the bigger largemouth. The smallmouth seem to be not even close to that. You see like little small, little flies, little small hair jigs that catch 5, 6, 7 pound smallmouth. So it doesn't really work. So if you are going to travel in your summer vacation, which a lot of us are setting to head up north, this guy right here, the drag and drop, the smaller guy, he's going to be the one that I want to pick. Now you can go to natural colors. I've also seen that the Morning Dawn color works really well in clear water. So you think this pink bright worm, sometimes, oh man, it's really gaudy. Those fish sometimes really like that. So you'll have to play around with it. Natural colors like your green pumpkins are going to play, but then also mess around with the brighter colors. Now, if I'm fishing on the other side of the spectrum, say I'm fishing the Tennessee River, I want to get a bigger bite. Rather than throwing the smaller drag and drop, I'm going to go with the slim shake worm. I'll even throw a bigger slim shake, an 8-inch, if I have to, because I want a bigger profile worm that I could generate a bigger bite. If I'm trying to get more bites, I'm gonna go down in my size. So colors all depend on the water clarity. I'll throw black and blue June bug down in Florida. The water's fairly clear. This California crawl that I have right here is really a pretty dang good one. It's sort of like a contrast. If the water's a little stained and you want a little bit of like, watermelon red with a little bit of black neon flake, that's a really good worm color. And then there's sort of the in-between, and that's really the thing, a 5.5 inch. And this is actually the 5.5 inch right here. So, like a 4, a 5.5, and then it's like basically a 6.5 inch or so. And so then I'll sort of, if I feel like I'm not getting the bites on that Slim Shake, then I'll slide down to the 5.5 inch. And so all of these are set up, okay? This is the thing. What am I setting this up on? Now, nose hooking a drop shot bait can work really well for smallmouth and works well for largemouth as well. But for me personally, I use this setup right here, 8-pound line. This 8-pound Suffix Advanced Fluorocarbon. This is a size number 1 finesse Nico hook. Okay, and what that is it allows for me to Texas rig almost on a drop shot. You'll see it's actually, if you can see it, it's Texas rigged on there. So I can fish it in brush piles, I can fish it around grass, I can fish it around wood, but I also can fish it out offshore, pitching around. And the cool thing about this is it's pretty weedless and allows me to fish it anywhere. I will upsize and downsize my weight accordingly. If I'm fishing shallow this time of year, with a drop shot, I'll go to a 3/16. If I'm fishing deeper, I'll go up to a 3/8. One of my favorite weight sizes for that VMC tungsten is a 5/16. So if you're looking for an all-around weight, a quarter or a 5/16 is what I would recommend. If you're a little bit deeper, 5/16. If you're a little bit shallower, a quarter is probably the number 1 deal. So then we dove into the drop shot. So drop shot, if you don't know a little bit about that sucker just absolutely catches them. That's my setup. I actually have that one on my 7.2 medium heavy action rod. I want a little bit more backbone when I'm setting the hook on a Texas rig drop shot. Now, if I'm throwing a nose hook, like you actually put like a small nose hook and you nose hook your bait, that's when I'm gonna go to my medium. So that's when you're more medium, softer tip. You get that drop shot rod. That's that whole drop shot rod deal. So those are 2 baits that I definitely gonna have out offshore. One right here is probably one of my favorites. A frog, okay? This is a frog. All right, fish are starting to pull up shallow. They're eating bluegill. Some places they've been up there. Some places they're just pulling up. And a frog is one that you always have to have in your boat, whether you're fishing shade pockets. It doesn't even, this is the thing. People think, okay, you pick up a frog, you have to throw it around grass or vegetation. A frog is one of the best baits to throw day in and day out. This one right here is a Spro frog, but I throw several. I throw, one of my favorites is a little Terminator Walking Frog Junior. That's a really good one if you want a downsized one. This one's a good frog. The key is it being soft. You want to make sure the body itself is soft. If it's hard, you're probably going to have a tough time hooking those fish. As far as setup, 50-pound Suffix Advanced Fluor, or 50-pound Suffix 832 braid, 7.3 heavy action rod, 8:3-to-1 gear ratio reel, reeling it fast, trying to get those fish out of those places. I'm going to really look for pockets, places that are protected in the south where those fish are probably going to pull up in some of those pockets that are eating on bluegill or some of the backwaters and stuff on some of those rivers and some of those lakes, some of those places farther back in the backs of the creeks. That's where I'm going to throw this frog. Undercut banks, that's where I'm going to throw this dude. And then if you're looking for like up north, lily pads, if you have a lot of vegetation, matted milfoil, those are the places that I'm going to probably pick this guy up. It's a versatile bait and it really catches a lot of fish. Okay, number 4. A Texas rigged worm, okay? Texas rigged worm, when it gets hot, you hear the dog days of summer. This is my whole thing. As it's cold, I want something that's more bulky like a crawdad. But as it's hot, I want a streamlined profile. I feel like the bass in those really hot days, they really want, or those hot months, they really want something that they can digest fairly easy. And like a worm that's real narrow and slim, think about it, they can digest those really simple, real easy to be able to digest a longer profile worm for those fish. I don't know always if they think it's actually like a real worm. I think they could think it's a lamprey on the Tennessee River. I mean, they could be it's a snake. I've seen a lot of crazy things over the years, but for whatever reason, this profile catches a lot of fish. And I am upsizing the size of my worm. This is an 8-inch Slim Shake worm, so this is more what I would call a bigger profile worm. It has a little bit bigger body. I got a 5/0 hook on there. I got a 3/8 ounce weight. I can flip and pitch this And this is actually what sometimes I'll sort of go from fishing a bandito bug to flipping this setup right here because I want to show the fish something a little bit different. Sometimes they've been seeing those crawls and those creature baits. They always eat a bandito bug. It just doesn't matter. It just seems like they bite it no matter what. But if I feel like the fish are getting really pressured and you got an area of the lake and you're just throwing a whole bunch of creature baits, that's when I'll start to go to that worm, flip it, and I won't peg the weight. You see how that weight's not pegged? That allows that bait to fall naturally and it spirals around, and because it has no appendages, it's not going to have a lot of resistance, so that bait's going to really twirl and twitch around and make that fish react a lot of times when it's falling. 3/8 ounce weight, and this is also something that I'm going to use out deep. I'll downsize my weight. If I'm fishing really shallow flipping it, I'll go to 1/4. If I'm fishing out offshore in grass or brush piles, it's a versatile rig or schools of fish. That's when I'll throw that 3/8 ounce weight Texas rig, snap it around. I like to have that weight to where it's definitely loose because it helps me feel like I can get a couple more bites. So that is number 4 for July. Number 5, okay, number 5. Last but not least, I'm gonna give you guys. Can you guess? Can you guess what it is? Hold up. You probably saw that. It's okay. It is what it is. Buzzbait, okay? You all know I love throwing on top water. This is the time of year that covering water shallow can really pay off with a couple really big fish. I have a couple different buzzbaits rigged a couple different ways right here. These are my accent buzzbaits right here. It's my signature series buzzbait. This is the finesse buzzbait right here, smaller blade. This one has a bigger blade right here. This one's a gold blade, and I have them rigged a little bit different way. This one has a toad on it. This one has a Guggen dart on it with a skirt. And this guy has a little small bandito bug. So it all depends on what the forage is. I have them rigged multiple different ways, but really a buzzbait, I keep it fairly simple, black or white. If I feel like they're eating shad, I'll throw white. If they're eating bluegill, or if it's low light, if it's cloudy, I'll throw black. And there's sometimes that I will throw green pumpkin if I feel like the fish are really keying in on bluegill. That's really about it. Now, the difference is if I feel like the bait forage is smaller or I'm fishing for bigger fish, I might throw that toad and I might throw that bigger blade. If I'm on a river and I'm trying to generate more bites, that finesse one, a little bit more subtle, can generate more bites because it's just not as loud, not as aggressive. So those are the things that I try to look for when I'm picking a buzzbait. Where am I throwing this? Very similar to where I'm throwing that frog. This is not as good in the vegetation. So if you're around milfoil, if you're around a lot of broken up eel grass or a lot of grass, your actual grass stems and the grass blades will actually get into between the rivet and the blade, and you won't get that sound that actually triggers those fish into biting. So these aren't necessarily the best for the really grassy lakes that have a lot of chopped up grass in them. These are better for your highland reservoirs, better for the areas where you don't have to deal with that. So you have that choo, 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 choo. That's what I'm always looking for. That's why I like it. And some people ask me like clacking over squealing buzzbaits, and this is like a squealing buzzbait. Okay. So, sort of give you a quick understanding of that. I throw that on my 7-foot medium heavy action rod. I like a shorter rod. If you have a 7-foot medium heavy action rod, that's perfect. I'll do 2 different things. I'll throw a 50-pound braid on him, but you got to be careful because you can bend a hook. If you got a big one, you got to take your time with them because you have a lot of force with your braid and you pull that fish really hard. And then I'll throw a 20-pound monofilament, which monofilament's a little bit cheaper, but so you're able to, if you're trying to like cost effective and you want a topwater rod and you want to have that, you can do that and you can sort of bebop around between multiple different things. But that's it. I mean, those are my 5 picks for the month of July. I'm sorry guys, I apologize for not diving into this sooner. I missed May, I missed June. I apologize, I do. We've been working hard, we've been busy, we've been running around trying to give you guys so much more content. But we will be back at you in August. I'm wondering what's going to transpire with the weather. I got a couple of them I saved for you all. You let me know, guys. Tag me on social. Let me know what's going on. As always, I'm checking in with you guys, checking in on the story. If you tag me on my story, I'll try to repost it. I'm always interested in what's going on and what the subscribers on the channel are doing. Thank you guys so much for following along. We out.